How are you, Adam?
Hi, Manny. How are you?
I'm fine.
You're looking well.
I'm feeling good, thank you.
Oh,
And
good.
you're looking well too.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm. Last time when I talked to you in your apartment, I might add. Um,
Well, that's where I am now, except I'm in my wife's room. I'm in a different room.
she
Oh, but
what?
we didn't do Zoom last time.
No, we were in person. In fact, because there was no
Oh, that's
threat.
right.
Right, there was no threat of me giving you a virus or you giving me a virus at the time.
And were you with Filmwax at the time?
Yeah, well, I mean that's my little, operation.
Uh-huh.
It's just we're able to what the nice thing about the video part is, we can even though we're not in the same room, we can see each other. Otherwise, I think back in a while back, we would have just had to do it over the phone or something. And I don't know, I think this is nice.
Yes, I agree.
Good. And I wanted to show you something because I found before I started, I found this from our last time, and of course that's
Oh,
the
yes.
oscilloscope. That's the
Yes.
oscilloscope. Stations of the Elevated and the New York Films. And then I didn't realize that I had this stuff. But do you remember from First Run Feature?
Oh, my.
From
Nice.
First Run Features.
Yes.
You could tell I'm a fan of yours and your film work, and been watching.
Well, since then, Adam, I've made an awful lot of films. I mean, Your last one there was We Were So Beloved, right? Oh, no. Art is the Permanent Revolution. You have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that a more recent?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's 2012 or so. But since then, I've made like 9.
Yeah, which is, I think, around the time I met you, because I was at something, I remember, for BAM, and I was you were there with Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah, who, I don't know if you remember this, and you probably don't. Why would you remember this? But Jake was a camper of mine.
Oh, wow. Camper?
Yeah, well, we went to a very kind of lefty, progressive summer camp, which by the time Jake was a kid was in Vermont. And I was, by that time,
remember. Yeah.
I was a camp counselor.
Oh.
And I went back one more summer. My last summer as a camp counselor was in 1990, so 30 years ago. and Jake was a senior camper. And then one day, like about 10 years ago, I was passing this guy, and he says, "Are you Adam?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "I'm Jake Perlin." And I hope he's watching. So I don't like to say that the hair had moved down his face from his top of his head to his, but so I did. But the thing about that whole experience is I was an adult in 1990, a young one, albeit, but I was a young adult. So I look kind of, the same, but he was a kid. So, I'm at the disadvantage because these guys have grown into adults, and they don't always look exactly the same. So, but that's how I reconnected with Jake, and then with you and your work through Jake and his good work and his commitment, among others, to getting your work out there. And so is it because Metrograph why is it you're going to be at Film Forum, this free time, which is now the latest, I guess, work that you're putting out there again?
Yeah, I've made 2 films since then. Believe it or not.
Say it again.
During this virus, I'm at home, I'm editing.
You've made 2, you saying?
Yeah, since then. One called Daughters, which is in which I interview 9 women about their mothers, and one called, from the same material as Free Time, one called Up the Lazy River.
Oh, I love that title.
Both are waiting for a studio mix, which I haven't had during this time.
Right. So one is using your existing archive.
Yes.
But the Daughters, which is really should be called Mothers, but I'm not going to quibble with you. You're the expert. That one is new. Your new interviews that you've done over the.
I did them in July last year. July 2019.
Okay. All right.
I spent 2 weeks doing it.
Okay. So there now, I hadn't even anticipated that we would have lots more to talk about, but we can start with Free Time, since that is about to have a virtual theatrical, I suppose you could say, at Film Forum.
Yes.
Why not at Metrograph, by the way?
Well, Jake tried Film Forum because, after all, it is the most prestigious house in town, I think.
Well, north of north, let's say, we can't even say north of Houston Street because it's on the south side of Houston Street.
Right.
I'm trying to say that maybe Metrograph and Film Forum can split up the downtown between them comfortably, like, old mafia families.
No,
it's
so
not.
he tried then, and Karen liked the film so much, and she wanted it.
Karen Cooper.
Yes.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I'm just trying to remember if Metrograph is doing virtual screenings.
Yes, they are, and they started the first week with stations and
okay.
played with stations. Something played with stations. Two of my films, I think Bridge High, and yes, so they're doing virtual. They're doing every week. I get a notice from them. And
Oh, wow. So you are, what's the right way to put it? You're really, I don't know, like you've got a relationship with these two cinemas, like you've got it all tied up.
no, I don't have a relationship with Film Forum. Film Forum, the last time Film Forum showed one of my films, it was We Were So Beloved. And they showed that in 1986.
Oh my God. Are you telling me?
And then I
This is
would
the first.
send them every subsequent film, and they'd say,
Really?
"Oh, this one is for the small screen. This one is not for us." But then it took all that time to get 24 years to get
34.
34 years.
You said 1986, 34 years. Sorry to age you another decade like that, but
That's right.
you know,
34 years.
I
So
just
then,
added another 10 years on us both. So yeah. Wow. Well, welcome back to the Film Forum then.
yes.
It's about time
But the
they invite.
Metrograph has shown a number of my films.
Oh, I know.
And they were going to show my film, Middle Class Money, right after Free Time. But now that's been delayed. And then he likes Daughters a lot. So I think he'll show that as well.
Unless, of course, you could get into a war between, maybe Film Forum will want that one too. You never know now that they're bringing it back. But of course, you have Frederick Wiseman. He's always, probably pushing everybody else out with his films. Did you know that he had? I think his new film, City Hall, is 4 hours. I mean, I watched it. It's not that I guess I did see it, so I know that it's 4 hours. Yours is mercifully not nearly as long.
No, it's just barely an hour. It's just
a
half a minute over an hour.
No, I know, and it premiered at the New York Film Festival last year.
Yes.
In 2019.
Yes.
So it's been a while, and I know that you were supposed to have had originally a spring release of Free Time at Film Forum, but because of the pandemic and everything, they wanted probably to see if they could hold it off for a while and do a proper conventional theatrical. But it was, I'm assuming that's what happened, and then it was clear that's not happening anytime soon. So
right.
Now,
but they did promise, Jake, that once the theater is open again, that they would give it at least a one-day showing. They won't give it the week that originally was planned, but they would show it there.
That's something, I guess.
I guess.
And as a gesture, I think that's very, I don't know, I think that's very nice. What do you make, Manny, while we've got you on? I mean, you lived through a lot, and no problem. You've lived through so much, so many American, what shall we call these? Well, it's a tragedy what's going on here, frankly, right now. You were in New York during World War II. Can we call that the biggest catastrophe since, or?
I guess, yes, of course. Holocaust.
The Holocaust. I just wonder what you if you have some feelings about it. We're going into the election, and did you, by the way, get a chance to vote?
Yes, we voted a month ago by mail, and we got a confirmation of it.
Oh, good. That's the thing. Yeah, I was going to tell you that since I at the beginning that I moved out of New York City, I'm living north of the city in the Hudson Valley right now.
Oh.
Which was kind of a plan for a while, but this kind of just moved it up I just needed a break, and I lost my dad during that whole period. So it was a lot going on, and
What,
I decided,
you lost him through coronavirus?
well, yeah, I think he was gonna go. He had sort of I don't know, given into quite he was going through a medically pretty difficult time, and he contracted the virus, and I think that was sort of the last straw, that broke the camel's back, so to speak. But so he'll probably go down as a statistic, a COVID statistic. But I think he may have died. I think he would have probably died regardless. Um, he was pretty septic and a bunch of other problems. But yeah, so that happened in April. So it was a pretty brutal spring,
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, because he was in and out of the hospital and in this rehab center, so it was almost impossible not to get it. There were so many people coming in and out of those places that he was very, very susceptible to that. So anyway, but what was I going to say? Sorry to go off on that track like that. It's of course on the top of everybody's minds though, and I'm glad you guys are doing okay. Have
Yes.
you know, it has the time. Are you spending I assume the majority of the time that you're spending at home, you're not able to teach at SVA, or you are?
No, I retired from SBA in 2017.
Oh,
when I was 86.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I'm not teaching.
Okay.
Which is why I'm able to do a lot of work at home.
Right.
And I do my editing at home.
Right. So it's a kind of an upside to it, because you obviously still have quite the drive and the motivation.
Well, it's such fun. Editing is, you're a kid again.
Yeah.
Putting pieces together in different ways, and,
yeah.
and so I enjoy editing very much.
When you're sitting there and you're working on it and you're editing, do you feel in a way a bridge to a young Manny Kirchheimer from like maybe 50, 60 years ago when you were starting and you were doing, I mean, of course, your setup, your your editing system is quite different, but do you kind of feel like it in a way it bridges your life together?
Well, it does in a way, but I think I'm much more confident in my editing today. And although an early film like Claw, I don't know if you ever saw. Oh yeah,
no,
it's part of that New York films.
Oh, it's in here.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, then I saw it. I saw it, but I can't recall. But I saw it for sure because I watched everything.
It's a half-hour film, black and white, and when I look at it, I'm astounded. And it's really my favorite of my films, even though it's only a half hour. But it was a struggle, and nowadays it's much less of a struggle. I'm more confident. And I think, I'm not sure of this, but I think I'm better as well, even though these are simpler films to make than Claw was.
Simpler how?
Well, you take Daughters, and the only B-roll in it is family photographs, so that it's a juxtaposition of faces. And, I knocked that off in 3 months, the editing. Whereas I used to spend 2 years or 3 years editing. I mean, Stations took 3 years to edit.
And it's, yeah.
You go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you were doing those on a manual.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, the labor of doing that was time consuming compared to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I thank God every day for the digital systems.
You wouldn't be able to do any work up there if this happened years ago. You'd now, I remember in our conversation a few years back, you're saying what a big champion of digital you were.
yeah.
And if we weren't here in this age that we're in, or you're in, you would be sitting at home reading the paper. Kind of
Well,
going nuts.
either that, or I'd be editing over a much longer period and making fewer films.
Would you be able to have that kind of editing equipment at home, though?
I have it.
Like, you have a
I
flatbed?
still use it. I still use it in order to find material from my old archives. Right? So I use a viewer, and I use lead lines, and I use a moviola.
Wow. And that's at home?
At home. Yes, I always. I ended up editing at home.
Wow. And how much of do you have any idea of how much footage you have of raw footage, say, or how much you've shot? That
was back in between 1957 and 1960. 3 years in which Walter Hess, my partner at the time, and I would go out whenever we were mutually unemployed. And sometimes, well, yes, because we were both in the film industry. We were both editors. And sometimes, since I had the camera, I would shoot alone when he was working. And so we ended up with 45,000 feet.
45 what?
1,000 feet of black and white reversal material. Now,
this is
45,000
free time.
Feet is something like 30 hours, right? And which is not very much. I mean, you can make one film out of that, right? But and we were following a script, and we thought we were making one film. But then when we tried to edit it together, we took the summer of 1963 off in order to edit it. We couldn't get together on it. And so I proposed that we make individual films. And he agreed to that, although he never made a film. And I began by making Claw out of it. After I had made my initial film, which I was, because I was so frustrated by the experience. And so I made Claw, and then I used the material in Bridge High, and then I used the material again in We Were So Beloved. And then I made Dream of the City, right, 3 years ago. And then I made Free Time, and then I made Up the Lazy River, all from that material. And now I'm going through it for the last time, just to see if I can eke, yes, just to see if I can eke anything out of it. I don't know if I can, but I'm well on my way to finding the rest of the material.
So, okay, so you have, again, how many hours from the original content, from the original footage? Roughly 300?
No,
30 hours,
30
you said.
hours.
30 hours.
Yeah. I've made a half-hour film, a 10-minute film, a 3/4 of an hour film, and a 1 hour film. And the whole original film was thought to be 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. But who knows what it would have been.
And you mentioned Walter Hess, who you worked with, and he co-shot this. And his film, what did that turn out to be?
His film?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't make films. He edited films. You know, like I see. Well, in the industry.
Okay, because I thought you said that you both decided, instead of collaborating,
that's right. We tried to edit this film together, right? And so he would have a sequence, and I would have a sequence, and we talk about it. We did more talking than editing, and then the summer was over, and we hadn't gotten anywhere. Although I had cut portions of films that I used later in Tall, for example. Have you seen Tall?
No.
No. Okay, so I used two sequences from the material in Tall. So I've used the material in 7 films. This singular material in 7 films.
I was just looking to see what I'd seen from the New York films, but that wasn't one
Well,
of
the
them.
New York films, you saw Bridge High, which is the crossing of the suspension bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw Claw, if you
Well,
saw
that's
that.
right. Short Circuit.
Well, Short Circuit is a different film.
Right. No, I
A
understand.
film in which a black family takes over a white liberal's household.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so Free Time is going to be on at the Film Forum's virtual site,
Streaming, yes,
streaming on Film Forum's site website, streaming as of November 11th,
that's right.
right? For a week or two, or I should
think
know that
for a week.
for a week, right? Well, since people can they can stream it on demand, though, right?
I don't
Okay,
know.
I'm putting you in an awkward position.
No, I just don't know.
And I understand,
what the
right?
plan is.
Because I know that they'll sometimes have screenings at particular times, but I would imagine they'll probably give people a week, but I'll confirm one way or another so that I don't give the wrong information. And again, this was shot from 1958 through 1960, all on the west side of Manhattan. I noticed you were shooting up in Washington Heights. You shot on the Upper West Side,
Yeah,
and to some degree in Hell's Kitchen.
yes.
So,
but that's the neighborhood scenes, right? But I also have a dredging scene, which I shot on the Hudson on the west side, and I have a junkyard scene. You seen the film?
yeah, yeah.
Well, I have a junk, right? The junk, auto junk scene.
Yeah.
Shot on the Harlem at 207th Street, and
I just assumed everything. I was just trying to say everything seemed to be on the west side of Manhattan. So, which
I'm thinking.
Well, it's not
Yeah,
that.
yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah. Because I'm figuring it made it easier for you if you're living on the west side to.
At the time, I wasn't living on the west side. I was living in Rego Park, Queens.
Ah, my birthplace.
And is that right?
Yeah, I was born in Rego Park, and we lived there my family lived there from 1963 to 1968.
Oh, wow. Well, let me see.
Well, I should say I was alive. They were there before that. They were there from probably 1960.
I see. Well, I was there from the time I got married in 1955 to 1964. So we overlapped a year.
We did overlap 1 year. That's amazing. What street were you on? Can I ask? Since we're chatting.
63rd Road.
Yeah, we were right around there as well. Maybe. Do you remember that area called Walden Terrace?
Yes.
That's where we. That's exactly
that's across the street from where I live.
Okay. Yeah, I was. So you may have. My parents may have wheeled me right in front of you at one point. It's very possible. Yeah, I lived there as behind. Remember, Alexander's was on the.
Yeah, that's right.
Right there, we lived just a couple of blocks.
Queens Boulevard.
That's right. So wow, so you schlepped over to the west side every day. Would you get in your car and you?
Yes. Yeah. Walter lived up the block, and I would pick him up, and then we'd go to different places on the west side. Yes, which we sort of knew, but we also discovered. Wow. Right? Because in Claw, there's that big claw, that rips up buildings. And we discovered that one day on the west side. And so, we would, and all those sculptures, those faces and sculptures that are, and the Free Time begins with sculptures.
Yes. Meaning built into the buildings, though, architectural kind of sculpture. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And they were all on the west side. Few were on the east side, I think, but they were mainly on the west side.
Mhm.
And we would photograph them.
Well, it's wonderful to see all that for anybody who loves, to see old New York. It's a gift. It's a pure. It's a lovely gift. I love watching the old. I just love watching New York from back before it was kind of, I think, overdeveloped.
Yes. Well,
Not
but
that it was perfect then. There were a lot of. It was a lot harder in a lot of ways.
well, Adam, it was overdeveloped then. As a matter of fact, that was the motivation for
True.
making that film.
Is that right?
And, the first film in the series was called Claw, and that was all about tearing the old neighborhood down and building the new buildings, which shut out the sun and so on. And so that was the real reason that we started to shoot these films. And we had these different sequences that we were going to use. We would call one sequence the city from afar, and another sequence entering the city, and another sequence called the haunted city, and so on, and escape from the city. And these were all, and the good part was the neighborhood, which is being shown, and of course, one of the things from the haunted city was the junk man who was in free time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, so that was the original motivation. We felt it was way overdeveloped then, but of course, it kept developing. It just kept developing. And now I think the opposite is going to happen. After the virus, people aren't going to go back into the buildings. They're going to work from home. And bosses are going to find that much cheaper. And so these buildings are going to stand half empty.
Yeah, or if you're an optimist, half full. I started the conversation kind of asking you. I was a little hesitant because it's a loaded question about like your feelings about we're going through, and I said it might be the biggest tragedy that we're experiencing as a world together since the Holocaust. But I've been saying these things about New York specifically. I read an article yesterday about how the subway system is really suffering financially, and I'm saying it's the tip of the iceberg. And I have a really deep concern about where New York is heading. It's already lost one of the main economic girders, which is, tourism.
Yeah.
And then you're right, as leases and expire. You're right. I think a lot of people are going to say, well, it's not ideal that our team is working like a diaspora out there from their homes, but we're managing, and we don't have to pay thousands and thousands a month on the rent in these buildings. We can do it. And then, so you're right. I think you're going to see New York is going to go through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And it's not the only city, but it is a city that is on such a steroidal level as far as, real estate, and its economy is based on real estate. It's based on tourism and entertainment, and it's all kind of, on hiatus.
Right. So one of the good things that might come out of the virus is that there won't be new buildings for a while. And we put a stop to the over development.
And you can get back to filmmaking then.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of stuck at home right now, especially.
Yeah, but I was going to say, you still must have, I have to imagine, I mean, I don't know how much of your film has been converted to digital, how much you've done, because everything.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So how
well,
many?
Not the unused material, not that.
No, that's what I mean though.
So, no, I only digitize what I pull from.
Yeah, it's a very expensive.
Sure.
But I'm going to say you might want to start getting on. That's your next big project because you might be stuck at home making films for a while, and you'll have all those probably
Yeah.
maybe hundreds, if not even more than hundreds of hours of film.
No, I don't think so.
Where
I,
you just
I think I'm sort of done with that material,
okay.
especially now when I'm eking out the last of it. And as a friend of mine said, if it doesn't work out, you can always make an avant-garde film out of the material.
That's right. It's called recycling.
Yes.
Well, let's repeat that Manny Kirchheimer's or Manfred Kirchheimer's latest, we'll say it's your latest film, even though I know you're working on new material and will probably be coming out in the next year. But right now, as of November 11th, you'll be releasing Free Time, which is New York City in the late 50s. And it will be out on November 11th on filmforum. I think filmforum.org or filmforum. I think it's filmforum.org. You can start there anyway, and I'm sure there'll be a link for their virtual screenings that they're going to have of the film. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And is it still accompanied with Rudy Burkhart's Under the Brooklyn Bridge?
Yes, I believe so.
So it'll be paired. So you've got about it, probably a good hour to hour and 15, 20 minutes of an experience for your money.
That's right.
Good. And is Walter around still?
Oh, sure. He lives on 94th Street, also on the west side.
Everybody's left Rego Park, Manny.
Yeah, we all left Rego Park.
Even my parents. Very good. And who's Rudy?
I don't know Rudy.
Okay.
I never knew him.
All right.
And apparently he was well known among avant-garde circles, making these short films about New York. And what can I say? I never knew his films. And now I saw his first one, which was, Under the Brooklyn Bridge, which I took a look at.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing it myself. Very good. Okay, well, thank you very much. And I don't want to co-opt any more of your time. I know you probably have another film to begin editing.
They do, as a matter of fact.
But I'm very happy we were able to do this, and I'm happy to support your work in any way I can, and Film Forum, and the Film Conservancy, and Grasshopper. I don't know. I lose track of all the organizations.
Yes.
That are.
Well, you're very sweet to do that, and
my pleasure.
Appreciated that.
Okay, my pleasure.
You do, and it's nice to see you again.
Same here. Thank you. I hope to see you again soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks.